the silence. Have you been wondering why Donald Trump has been unusually quiet about Nigeria? No sanction talk, no democracy lectures, no press conferences about governance or accountability, just silence. Today I want to introduce you to the reason for that silence. His name is Masad Boulos. And once I show you the chain, you will never look at Nigeria politics the same way again. Who is Masad Boulos? Masad Boulos is not a name most Nigerians know. But he has been living in your country for nearly 30 years. He was born in Lebanon, holds 4 passports, Lebanese, Nigeria, French, and American, and moved to Lagos in 1996 as CEO of SCOA, Nigeria, a heavy truck and machinery company. He raised his family in Lagos. His son, Michael, grew up there. And in 2022, that son, Michael Boulos, married Tiffany Trump, Donald Trump's daughter. That made Masad Boulos Donald Trump in-law. And in December 2024, Trump appointed him senior advisor to the president. By April 2025, Africa was added to his portfolio, making him the most senior U.S. government official responsible for the entire African continent. The man advising America on Africa policy spent 30 years in Lagos. Hold that thought. Now I want to show you a chain. Every link is documented. Link 1. Masad Boulos company, SCOA Nigeria, supplies heavy equipment to a construction company called High-Tech Constructions. High-Tech Construction is a subsidiary of the Shaguri Group. That is a business relationship. Boulos supplies Shaguri builds. Link 2. Who is Gilbert Shaguri? Gilbert Shaguri is a Lebanese Nigerian billionaire who was convicted of money laundering, flagged by the FBI for suspected Hezbollah financing, and paid a settlement to the U.S. Department of Justice over illegal campaign finance contribution. Link 3. Under President Bola Tinubu, Gilbert Shaguri, through High-Tech Construction, has received more than $13 billion in Nigeria government contracts without competitive bidding, without going to tender, just awarded directly. $13 billion. Let me bring that home for you. At today's exchange rates, that is 20.8 trillion naira. Nigeria's entire federal budget for 2024 was 28 trillion. The whole of Nigeria budget in 2024 was 28 trillion. Only one man received 20.8 trillion inside.
Wait, what is this news I'm hearing now? Hey, holy Jesus. You see, when I saw this news, the first thing that came to my mind was a very popular saying in Igbo that says, oh yes, in fact, let me not bore you with words. Let me allow you to listen to the video. Then I want to plead with you to stay to the end, because I will come back to tell us a secret about this person in question. Yes, you heard me right. Please, I beg you, I don't want to bore you with words. Just listen to this news. Then I will come back to tell you another hidden secret about him. Listen to this news.
The man behind. This one man receives 74% of an entire nation's budget in contracts for one president. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway alone, awarded to Shaguri High-Tech Construction without competitive bidding, is between 11 and 13 billion. That single road contract is more than Nigeria education budget for years combined. And if you took that money and paid every Nigerian worker the new minimum wage of 70,000 naira, you could pay them all for 24 years. That is what we are talking about. Link 4. Tinubu's son, Sheyi Tinubu, sits on the board of separate Shaguri Group subsidiary. And Tinubu himself once said of Shaguri, with friends like him, one can sleep with a still mind. Link 5. Now, the man whose company supplies Shaguri's construction hands, Masad Boulos, is now Donald Trump's senior advisor for Africa. He is the man whispering into Donald Trump's ears about Nigeria. And you're wondering why Trump is quiet about Tinubu. Let me show you a linked alleged corruption. Before a presidential advisor take office in America, the law requires them to file a financial disclosure, a full declaration of all businesses, relationship, and financial interests. This exists for one reason, so that the public can see whether the person advising the president has a personal financial stake in the decisions he is influencing. Masad Boulos was required to file one, whether it discloses its business relationship with the Shaguri Group, the group whose construction arms receive billions from Tinubu. Is a question the public cannot currently answer. Because shortly after Trump's inauguration in January 2025, the White House took its financial disclosure page offline. It disappeared. Okay, Tarif. The public cannot see what he filed or whether the Shaguri connection was ever disclosed to anyone. What do we call that? In law, it is called concealment of conflicts of interest. In governance, it is called obstruction of public accountability. In plain language, it is called corruption. A record that citizens are legally entitled to see, gone, offline, unavailable, disappeared. Disclosure pages do not accidentally go offline. This is an active decision. So let me summarize what we know, not what we suspect, what is documented. Trump's Africa advisor spent 30 years in Nigeria, Lagos. His company supplied equipment to a Shaguri construction arm. That Shaguri arms received 20.8 trillion naira, $13 billion in no-bid contract from Tinubu. Tinubu's own son sits on the Shaguri board. The financial disclosure that should have revealed all of this disappeared from the White House website. And America has been silent about Nigeria. Now you know why. This is not conspiracy. This is a paper trail, and it has your name on the bill. Why your generation suffers to pay a bill? Tinubu.
Now, I made my own research, and I realized that the man in question, Masad Boulos, is a Lebanese-American businessman and a diplomat, right? He was born in 1971. He's 55 years old. Yeah, he's 55 years old. I also realized that this man is a senior special advisor to the president of US. Yes, he is an advisor to the US on Arab and Africa. In fact, that office was announced by the Department of State. Look at this news. It says, announcement of Masad Boulos as senior advisor for Africa on April 1st, 2025. Now, please, I want to beg you to stay with me because I want to show you some other things that lady didn't talk about. Right? Now, look at this news. It's just only this page. It says, Boulos, okay, the Department of State is pleased to announce the appointment of Masad Boulos as Senior Advisor for Africa. Senior Advisor Boulos also serves as Senior Advisor to the President on Arab and Middle Eastern Affairs. So this man in question is, a Senior Advisor to the President on Arab and Africa. Okay? Now, look at this. Senior Advisor Boulos and Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Corina Sanders, will travel to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda starting April 3rd last year. During the trip, Senior Advisor Boulos and the team will meet with heads of state and business leaders to advance efforts for durable peace in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo and to promote US private sector investment in the region. So it was actually confirmed that, of course, by the State Department, right, that this man in question, right, Masad Boulos, is a senior advisor to the president on Arab and Africa. Now, I want to play a very short video for you of this man, where he met with the president of, Nigeria, and he said something about Nigeria. Holy Jesus. As I said, I don't want to bore you with words. Let me allow you to listen to him and hear what he said about Nigeria. Maybe you understand a bit of what we are talking about. Please listen to him. I'll be back.
Any question?
Fine, good to see you. Good to see you as well.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Hard to see you. Yes, Mark.
How are you?
Thank you.
Good. Good luck. Very nice. Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a journey too.
Well, first of all, it was a great pleasure and an honor to meet with President Tinubu. As usual, this is not the first time. We have our two countries have a great relationship. The United States and Nigeria is our major partner. We talked about a number of things, most importantly counterterrorism. We've been working very closely with the Nigerian government and President Tinubu's administration on countering terrorism and fighting terrorism. What's happening today in the Sahel region and in the Lake Chad basin is of extreme concern to all of us, not just people in the sub-region, but to the entire world, to Europe and the United States and the entire world. It's a very serious concern, and we're working towards combating it, and we will be cooperating and continue to cooperate towards combating this serious problem in the region. We also talked about the maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea, which is also a very important aspect of our cooperation, not just with Nigeria, but other countries within the Gulf of Guinea. So hopefully this is something we can continue to work on.
Okay, you talked about cooperation on the security countering terrorism. In what form is that coming?
There's a lot of work that we've already doing together. There's information sharing, there's technology, there's training. There are quite a few programs that we've worked on and we will continue to work on. But hopefully we can increase. We can increase that. We know that also Nigeria had recently purchased some equipment from the United States, and we hopefully will work towards improving on that.
Right, there's a narrative coming from the US at the moment, disturbing to some people in Nigeria, and that's about religious persecution. That is not the position of the government, certainly. It's that of the Senator Cruz, I guess. And what is the position of US governments regarding this?
This is certainly unfortunate, of course. Any incident, any loss of life is absolutely unfortunate. Those who know the terrain well know that terrorism has no color and no religion and no tribe. People of all religions and all tribes are dying as a result of terrorist acts, but it's very unfortunate. We even know that Boko Haram and ISIS are killing more Muslims than Christians. So people are suffering from all sorts of backgrounds. This is not specifically targeted about one group or the other. However, any loss of life is too many. One is too many, and we should work together in partnership to put an end to this. With regards to, there are other incidents that happen to be in the Middle Belt, for example, where farmers are located. Most of these farmers happen to be Christian, and some herdsmen are going through and they have these incidents. But we definitely, it's not something that we can say is specifically targeted about a specific group. However, we must work together to put an end to this. The Nigerian government and the President Tinubu's administration have recently taken additional measures and put more resources in those areas, and we've seen some improvements in recent weeks. We appreciate those measures, and we definitely look forward to more of those, and we look forward to ending these sorts of acts wherever they come from. And we know that Nigeria is a melting pot. Nigeria is a country in which all sorts of religious groups and other groups, ethnic tribal and other groups are living together in harmony for centuries. And Nigerian population is split 50-50 probably between Christians and Muslims. So this has never been a serious religious issue and should not be. But we appreciate what President Tinubu has done, and we shall continue to work together to make sure it's taken care of.
You know, the Nigerian genocide of Christians narrative was triggered when opposition politicians in America claimed that believers in our country, Nigeria, we targeted, even the employed is so-called genocide to describe the attack. You know, the pronunciations of the claim have been dismissed. No, I've dismissed the narrative. The senior advisor of the U.S. President on Arab and African Affairs, Masad Boulos, has publicly dismissed these explosive claims of religious persecution and targeted genocide against Christians in Nigeria. In a chat with President Tinubu in Rome, Masad emphasized that terrorism in Nigeria affects individuals of all faiths and ethnicities indiscriminately. For the U.S. advisor, these allegations are misguided and inconsistent with the reality that terrorism doesn't discriminate based on religion. It is no longer news. You know,
I'm happy that, you see, this issue, you know, it raises a lot of questions. The first one is, what quantum of information is available to Senator Ted Cruz for him to come out with that position? What is the work of he's a member of the Committee on Commerce, Ted Cruz, that made that statement.
He's also a Republican.
He's also a Republican. He's a member of the Foreign Committee, the Committee on Foreign Relations. What is the relationship between the Nigerian National Assembly, Committee on Foreign Relations, and the U.S. Congress? What is the relationship between the Nigerian Foreign Affairs Minister, you know, and the U.S. Congress? So is there a continuum of networking and relationship in order to be able to feed the international community about what is going on in Nigeria? If you look at global community, you see that almost every month you see the people in charge of information briefing, you know, the audience about what is going on in Nigeria. I know that even up to now we don't have an ambassador in the US.
We don't.
So that vacuum is what we are seeing now. You know, because Ogabayo Onanuga is the spokesperson for the president. It's not the spokesperson for Nigeria. So he can only speak on activities of the president. There should be, you know, the Minister of Information who is supposed to be doing local international briefing. But so there is a communication gap. I don't think Ted Cruz was deliberate. He was acting on the information available to him. So we are part of that problem. And let me also add that there are a lot of Nigerians occupying strategic posts in the US. There are people that are very close to Republicans. What is the network of between the Nigerian government and such individuals in the US? Because it's just not true that you know, Christians are, you know, are the targets. Well, the extremists, you know, the ideology that, okay, they want a theocratic state, that might give a slight impression that they don't want Christianity. That is factual. But in terms of what they do, there was a mosque that was, you know, attacked in Kano. This assailant, a Muslim person, put petrol around and then set it ablaze. So many people were killed. A mosque in Katsina was attacked. About 27 people were killed. A mosque in Sokoto was attacked by fellow, these extremists who also who claim to be Muslim, who are not Muslim. The Sunnis. The Sunnis. So a lot of Muslim, in fact, a lot of Muslim people have moved from Borno State. Look at General, I think Ichuab, you know, Ichuab was killed, you know, in his private home. One of the war, you know, Civil War heroes was killed. You know, so he's a Muslim. You know, so there have been so many. Even the relation of the former president was kidnapped in Daura. Those who kidnapped him, Muslims. The person kidnapped a Muslim person. So it's just not true. You know, terrorism is blind to religion. They killed. You know, look at the internal crisis between Boko Haram. Divided themselves into factions, and they were attacking each other, which led to the death of Shekarau. Both groups claims to be Muslim.
While we cannot fail to talk about 9/11. When the planes hit the twin towers. He didn't ask how many Christians or
Muslims were there. So
people were killed.
So it's a wrong information, but I also think, you know, we are also responsible for some of this, you know, miscommunication at the local and international level.
Mayor, but mine is the medium of information is key here, because not to bring down the writing press, in the print media, the advantage is that of permanence. If you pick a paper that was published in 1960,
you see
but electronic media of radio and TV, the advantage is immediacy. Remember what happened in Rwanda? One intemperate broadcaster went on air and was speaking jargon, and in 100 days, close to 1 million people were killed. So Ted Cruz went on TV, and
why I'm happy that Boulos, Special Advisor Boulos, said what they said. One, is somebody that has lived in Nigeria for a long time.
Okay.
It's more or less, he understands the terrain. His family has been in Nigeria for a long time.
I remember
and it's a special, yes, they're the one doing the motorcycle and all that. And
it reminds me of Chalaram.
Yeah, and it's a special advisor to President
on African and Arab matters.
Yes. So he is a top voice within the government that can advise the way things are. Like when we discussed it the first time, I explained that what Senator Ted Cruz was saying was absolute nonsense, and it is because Ted Cruz belongs to the MAGA group now. They call them the MAGA group now. They used to call them, they used to call them members of the Tea Party within the Republican Party, who are evangelicals. So they play a lot of emphasis on religion, and they look at politics in America from that prison. So if they've seen reports of maybe some Christians, especially in Plato, that died, you understand, and Benue, so they can come up with this idea that, oh, Christians are being killed in Nigeria.
Targeted.
But it's a fallacy, because what we have is not genocide, it's terrorism. And the terrorists,
the employment
and the terrorists, yes, and the terrorists do not differentiate whether you are a Christian or you are a Muslim. That is the fact on ground.
Or non-conformist.
Yes, that is the fact on ground. So they do not have enough information to come to the conclusion that arrived that there's genocide in Nigeria. There's no genocide in Nigeria. That's why I'm happy that Bulus, who is the top person in American government, has been able to say no, there's nothing like that. Yeah. Because these crazy people that are killing people all over the place.
President Trump will be persuaded?
Of course, because like I said, the guy is an advisor. He's a member of government. He's an advisor. He's an official advisor to the president. You understand? So he is more. The president will listen to Bulus more than Ted Cruz.
Okay,
because he's an advisor on African and Middle East affairs.
Okay, we are going now. Okay, yeah. Bulus has removed we have seen removed the wheat, or separated the wheat from the chaff. So we are better able to see.
Yes, but in terms of institutional impact,
the
president met him in Rome, and then he spoke. In terms of institutional impact, the Senate is very key. It's important for the Nigerian.
It has set up an ad hoc committee.
Yes.
The plan is to travel to
meet the U.S. Congress, and also the Congress,
and disabuse their minds.
The mind of this man is not what we have in Nigeria. Is not terrorism, targeting Christians. Terrorism targeting all of us.
Yeah.
So the Nigerian government needs to increase the tempo of its internal and external communication.
And then the president also should do something about these ambassadors that are not, because part of the problem, when you have ambassadors, that's the missing. When you have ambassadors, they're supposed to protect your interests, to propagate things that you are doing. For example, if we had an ambassador on ground, he will have complained immediately to Ted Cruz, to Senator Ted Cruz, that this is not true, and will have adduced reasons why it is not true. But we don't have somebody like that. So anything we are doing it from here, which takes some time for it to be.
May I sound off here? Is it possible that we are dealing with fifth columnists within enemies of the state? Finding these things. Don't you think?
No, it's part of it is that there are some people, there are some political players, for example, that plays on the religious card and the ethnic card. It's not that they intentionally wants to paint our country in a bad light. They play those religious cards to favor themselves. But the problem is that when there is information in the public space, it gets to people like Ted Cruz. Whatever he's saying, picked it from reports that is in the public space. And when you
that is not counted.
Because they've seen that maybe there have been some attacks in some places, especially Plateau and Benue, and then they just ignorantly deduce the fact that Christians are being killed. Which is not the truth. Christians were killed, but Muslims have also been killed separately.
To the extent that we have a so-called genocide going on in my country.
Which is a ridiculous word to use.
And not to rule out what you have said. Some people wrote petitions to the Congress, alleging genocide against Christians in Nigeria, and that is why
Nigerians.
Yes, Nigerians, and that is why they get a deluge of petitions, from all sort of characters.
So what do they want?
That is why it is important for the Nigerian government to seize the narrative, to engage the international community. I expected the Nigerian government to have invited the U.S. ambassador here. The week of that incident. And then for briefing. you know, somebody here should have sent a committee, and then you go to the US Congress to make your case.
Is it not instructive to mention here that at the Senate, a motion was raised by Senator Brume, Borno State, and seconded by Muslims as well at the Senate.
Yeah, that's instructive.
Yeah.
To let us know that, because the international community is the information that they have, that they work on to suiting their sentiments. Yeah. Just like you said. So
that's why I said I hope President Trump will be persuaded. Okay then. Now let's go to